The IDF has driven Palestinians out of 86% of Gaza, leaving around 2 million people trapped in an area scarcely over 20 square miles. Whatever this Israeli government might claim, repeated displacement of so many civilians is not keeping them safe. In fact, it's quite the reverse. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the new Israeli aid system is inhumane, it's dangerous, and it deprives Gazans of human dignity. It contradicts long-established humanitarian principles. It creates disorder Hamas is now exploiting, with distribution points reduced from 400 to just 4. It forces desperate civilians, children among them, to scramble unsafely for the essentials of life. It's a grotesque spectacle, wreaking a terrible human cost. Almost 1,000 civilians have been killed since May, seeking aid, including 100, Mr. Deputy Speaker, this weekend alone. There are near daily reports of Israeli troops opening fire on people to access food. Israeli jets have hit women and children waiting for a health clinic to open. An Israeli drone has struck down children filling water containers, which Israeli officials blamed on a technical error. The Israeli government must answer what possible military justification can there be for strikes that have killed desperate, starving children? What immediate actions are they taking to stop this litany of horrors? And what will they do to hold those responsible to account?
I'm frankly astonished at the statement of the Foreign Secretary. At a time when we've got daily lynchings and expulsions on the West Bank, dozens being murdered as they beg for aid, I'm just beyond words, really, at his inaction and, frankly, complicity by inaction at what is going on. He himself said there's a massive prison camp being constructed in the south of Gaza. He knows that leading genocide scholars from across the world now are ringing the alarm bells, and yet he has the temerity to show up to this House and wave his chequebook as if it's going to salve his conscience. Can he not see that his inaction and, frankly, cowardice is making this country irrelevant? Can he also not see the personal risk to him, given our international obligations, that he may end up at The Hague because of his inaction? And finally, really frankly, an appeal to the Labour backbenchers. We can't get your leadership to change their minds. Only you can, if you organise and insist on change.
I understand the fury that the right honourable gentleman feels, but I have to tell him, that it demeans his argument when he personalises it in the way that he does, and it is not, it's unbecoming and not something that the House expects, particularly of more senior members.
Earlier today, then, 31 countries put out a powerful message. The war must end now. There must be aid going into Gaza, unrestricted. The hostages must be released, and all parties must uphold international law. It was sent to Israel, and by return, this powerful message was rejected. It was denounced by Israel as disconnected from reality.
Shocking.
So what now? So what now? In that statement, the 31 nations said we are prepared to take further action to support an immediate ceasefire and political pathways to security and peace for Israel, Palestine and the entire region. So what are we going to do, may I ask? Does that include the final recognition of Palestine?
Well, the right honourable lady is right to call into question so quickly the Israeli government rejecting the advice of its friends and 31 countries coming together, horrified by those who are losing their life simply reaching out to get aid and humanitarian care. She, of course, references the debate that exists in relation to recognition. Let me tell her that we will be working with our French colleagues who are focusing the upcoming conference particularly on two states and how we get to two states. And as you'd expect, the UK will play its part. On the broader issues, I hope and pray that we get a ceasefire, and of course that will lead to further activity as we head towards UNGA.
I mean, this statement we have from the 25 or 31 partners, it takes us no further forward. So we're prepared to take further action to support an immediate ceasefire. It's action that people are wanting, not more repetition of we call for, we demand, we urge. We want action, and this isn't action. We've had this so many times before. We've got this terrible humanitarian crisis, forcible transfer of civilians, the starvation by Israel, replacing... How can it be that we have a situation where IDF are firing at children, systematically going for head, stomach and testicles before their sport, and we have Rafah razed to the ground and this euphemistic humanitarian city being constructed, which the former Prime Minister of Israel called a concentration camp? When are we going to take the appropriate action to bring about comprehensive and full trade and arms embargo and concentrate the mind of Israel? Because nothing else is working. They're not listening. They're getting away with murder every single day.
The honourable gentleman clearly didn't listen to a word that I said, but I'm sure that the Foreign Secretary did.
I understand my honourable friend's frustration, and he has been consistent with that for a very long time. And as I've said, I regret that we are not at a place where we currently have a ceasefire, despite the international community that, calling for one and the pressure that exists. And he's right. What we are seeing at the moment is an abomination. And I would join him with those remarks.
Last week in Bogota, the Hague Group of Nations met, led by South Africa. Those nations pledged to support the ICC, to support the ICJ, to refuse all arms sales to Israel, to refuse the facilitation of arms to Israel, to refuse anything that enhances the occupation of Gaza and the West Bank. In short, global opinion supporting the Palestinian people. Will the British government also sign the Hague Declaration and support those group of nations determined to bring the world's attention to this, to end the genocide that's going on and the occupation that continues?
Well, I will speak to my South African counterpart about that issue, but can I say to him, we here in the UK support the ICC, and indeed it receives funding from British taxpayers and the ICJ. We also stand against what we are seeing in the West Bank and what we are seeing in Gaza. So much of what he has said, I would also say, is consistent with UK policy.
If we are seeing children being killed for getting vital food and aid, we must ask ourselves, what more can we be doing? If we are seeing children being manipulated at malnutrition, if we are seeing children starving, Foreign Secretary, I ask, where is the real action from this government to stop this so that more children can live?
Well, I hear the strength of my honourable friend's conviction and views. When she asks for more action, we are taking action. We have taken action every single day in office. British taxpayers are funding the alleviation of suffering. Is it enough? No. Have we brought this war to an end? We have not brought this war to an end. And I have to tell her the UK will be unable to do that unilaterally. That is why we are working with partners internationally. I have done that every single day in office. Me raising my voice will not bring this war to an end, and I lament that and I regret that. But am I sure the UK government is doing everything in its power? Yes, I am.